Very warm welcome, viewers. You're watching Republic TV with me, Rakshita Mishra. We'll get you all the latest stories of the day and exclusive inputs on Republic TV. Let's get started with all the top stories that are making headlines at 7 p.m. this Sunday evening. There's no end to politics over Manmohan Singh's death. BJP alleges Congress members did not come to collect Dr. Singh's mortal remains. Republic only channel reporting from Ground Zero in Patna. Protesters clash with the police, say we will not take part in talks without the Chief Minister joining in. Kejriwal has levelled big charges against the BJP ahead of the Delhi Assembly elections, claims BJP manipulating the voter list. Death toll mounts in South Korea. Plane crash tragedy. 177 reported dead. All right, that was the news summarized with the Note Assist using Galaxy AI on Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. So now, without wasting much of time, let's get started with the big story of the day that we are tracking on This Is Exclusive. All right, viewers, so the politics surrounding the former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh's memorial is not ending. Now, Mr. Mukherjee has pointed out that when her father, former President of India, Pranab Mukherjee, passed away in 2020, in August 2020, the Congress did not even bother to call the Congress Working Committee for a condolence meeting. In fact, Ms. Mukherjee further accuses the Congress party of misleading her on the matter. In her post on social media platform X, she writes, and I quote, "When my father passed away, Congress did not even bother to call CWC for a condolence meeting." We now have, in fact, Ms. Shamishta Mukherjee joining us on this broadcast. Thank you so much, Ms. Mukherjee, for speaking to Republic TV. This is a sad state of affairs. In fact, it's a former Prime Minister who's known as the father of economic reforms in India. And just right after the last rites, we see dirty politics unfolding, ugly politics unfolding, blame game, war of words erupting, ma'am. How do you see this?
It's extremely sad. And because death is always a very solemn affair, and Dr. Manmohan Singh was an extremely dignified person, and his entire family, they are very dignified people. So surrounding the demise of such a tall leader, who was twice Prime Minister, who was the architect of the growth story of current India, surrounding his death, these kind of politics is totally unacceptable and uncalled for.
There are leaders from the Congress party, ma'am, like Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, who have made statements, who have also written on social media platform X that the BJP, that the NDA is disrespecting Dr. Manmohan Singh. Rahul Gandhi is saying that the only Prime Minister from the minority community is being insulted. And this despite the BJP assuring that there will be a memorial that will be held. But right from the seating arrangement to the place of the funeral, the location, everything is being politicized, and there are statements coming in incessantly now. How do you react to those charges made by the Congress leaders?
As I said, that the nitty-gritty of sitting arrangements and where camera was placed and stuff like that, I don't know. And there also, I think, too trivial to comment at this moment. The last right of a person, of any individual, even of an ordinary person, ordinary citizen of this country, of any human being, it's an extremely solemn and dignified affair. to level charges and to indulge in blame game and who did this and who did what and who didn't do this. These kind of things are just not done. At least they should have waited for some time. And as far as the controversy about the memorial, what I read that the BJP government immediately they agreed for a memorial. So what is the controversy? Of course, it is going to take some time because the land to be allocated for the memorial, it's a government land, it's a public land. It's not nobody's private property that you can just give it away. So there has to be certain rules and procedures, certain due protocols need to be followed. So that's going to take some time. So if the government wouldn't have agreed, then there was a scope of controversy.
Ms. Mukherjee,
Congress,
yes,
very rightly, they demanded for a memorial to be erected, and which is absolutely right. There has to be a memorial for Dr. Manmohan Singh, and the government readily agreed. So where is the controversy? Where is the scope for controversy?
ma'am, you've also spoken about a real rot in the Congress party. Let me just quote you. You've spoken about the whole Congress ecosystem, that social media has relentlessly trolled you and your father over many issues. And there was some kind of language that was demeaning, that was derogatory, that was used against former President of India, late Pranab Mukherjee, your father. And also you said that the Congress has been unleashing trolls against you. So what is this real rot that you have been talking about, and how many of the Congress leaders are now feeling alienated by the ecosystem?
This is the whole issue that, I wrote a book on my father based on his diaries, and in that diaries, there are certain observations which are not very complimentary to Rahul Gandhi. He said he's yet to mature politically, and especially he was very upset about his trashing the ordinance, his own government's ordinance, and while the Prime Minister was away. So those are extremely arrogant acts. So anyway, of course, when I wrote this book, it created a lot of furor. And that is the time, my God, I just can't imagine the way the social trolling me, and forget about me, about my father using dirty, nasty, abusive language, even some having sexual connotations. And I would like to remind you that my father was president for 5 years. Before that, he was associated with Congress for 45 years, and he was not one of the marginal leaders. He was one of its tallest leaders, and he was a member of CWC for nearly 30 years. So they were, just to please placate someone, one person, they were denigrating their own legacy. Pranab Mukherjee is also a legacy of Congress. So, how could they do that? And this is the rot I'm talking about. And Congress talks about freedom of expression. They fight about freedom of expression. So what is that freedom of expression? Only when you are praising, when you are being a sycophant about your leader? The moment you criticize your leader, you unleash your trolls on them? So, this is the rot I'm talking about. That, there is, lot of, what is that Congress ideology they are talking about? So there's a Hindi mein kahavat hai ki kathni aur karne mein bahut farak hai. So they are exactly the current Congress. I don't even feel like calling it Indian National Congress, because I don't think the party preaches, they might preach, but they don't practice the values of liberalism, of tolerance, of inclusivity, which are the core values of Indian National Congress. I mean, they are, I think, one of the most intolerant parties. They're just not open to any kind of...
Yes, ma'am. In fact, you've also tweeted, you have also posted on social media platform X, you've quoted the tweet by BJP's C.R. Keswan, how he mentioned about, PV Narasimha Rao, the former Prime Minister. He has spoken about the alleged insult to PV Narasimha Rao, to which you have also replied, saying that your father, Dr. Pranab Mukherjee, was also not given the due respect. There was no condolence meet. There was no CWC condolence meeting that was called in, while the Congress party says it is only because that was a COVID time, and henceforth they could not, convene such a meeting. How do you react to that?
There's two things I would like to point out. Firstly, it was not alleged insult; it was insult, because this is a fact. This is a fact that PV Narasimha Rao's body was not allowed. His mortal remains were not allowed inside AICC. His family wanted to conduct his last rite at the funeral in Delhi, as befitting the Prime Minister. But that was not allowed, and they were asked to do it in Andhra Pradesh. So these are facts, and these are very recent histories, not some ancient history which can be disputed. As far as my father is concerned, of course, there were a lot of individual condolences, and Sonia Gandhi herself wrote me personally a very nice, heartwarming, touching letter. Is that CWC, which is the highest decision making body of the party, I felt at that time that they should have called for a CWC meeting, for a condolence meeting, and they should pass a condolence message, a resolution, a condolence message. I thought that is a normal norm. But that time, one senior leader told me that it's not done for the precedents. Okay, and I was also, to be very honest, too overwhelmed with my own personal grief to think about it any further. But few years down the line, when I was reading my father's diaries for researching on a book that I wrote on my father, I saw an entry where my father wrote that, our CWC meeting was called especially to condole K.R. Narayanan's passing away, former president, he's passing away. And the condolence message was actually drafted by my father. Then I realized that what I was told, that it's not done for the precedents, that is absolutely wrong. That is something, which is not right. So I don't know why it was not done. It was a very simple thing to call a condolence meeting. And yes, it was peak of COVID, no doubt about it. But what about Zoom? What about, nowadays these technologies are available. We are doing it through CWC meetings were taking place through Zoom. Other meetings were taking place through Zoom, through technology. The members did not need to be physically present. So that's an absolutely lame excuse,
You feel that what could be the reason for this? What is the idea behind this behavior, or rather, what could be the reason? Because right from P.V. Narasimha Rao to other leaders who are not part of the Gandhi family, you feel because of that very reason that the surname is not Gandhi, and that's why such a behavior is actually meted out to these leaders.
That question you have to ask Congress. I can't comment on that. Why they did this or why they did not do this. But one thing I would like to say, that whether it was deliberate or it was just sheer negligence and lack of institutional memory, for the people at the helm of things in Congress now, around that time, perhaps they didn't even know about the conventions, about the traditions of these basic courtesies, which are required in these kind of situations. So maybe it's because of total lack of, apathy, lack of knowledge, ignorance. So it could be that also. But even in that itself is quite pathetic, that a grand old party like Congress, the oldest political party in India, they do not know what to do, how to follow conventions of their own party. So that really shows the state of the party.
Ms. Mukherjee, thank you so much for joining us with your thoughts on that story. Of course, a very candid conversation there with the late Pranab Mukherjee's daughter, Sharmistha Mukherjee, as the politics surrounding Manmohan Singh's memorial viewers still continues. And now we shift our focus to the other big story that we are tracking on. This is exclusive. Prashant Kishore, the founder of Jan Swaraj Party, met the students today who are protesting against the alleged irregularities in the BPSC, Bihar Public Service Commission exam this year. And the protests have now intensified. They have been going on in Patna since the exam was conducted on the 13th of December. And it has now won the support of several prominent political figures as well, educationists and activities. And the latest what we are breaking is that the students are refusing to meet the BPSC authorities. They have clashed with the police on ground zero, viewers. They have taken to the streets and they demand that they will not attend the meeting with the BPSC authorities unless the Chief Minister of Bihar, Nitish Kumar, joins in. So the deadlock still continues and the students continue with their protest. My colleague Vivek is joining us live on the broadcast from Ground Zero, from the protest side. Vivek, tell us more about what you're witnessing. किस तरह क्या कुछ यहाँ पर हो रहा है, जो कि स्टूडेंट्स जो हैं, प्रोटेस्टर्स जो हैं, विरोधियों ने कह दिया है कि जब तक नीतीश कुमार स्वयं नहीं आते हैं इस मीटिंग में, तब तक वो अपनी मांगों के लिए आवाज उठाना और इस विरोध प्रदर्शन को बंद नहीं करेंगे.
बिल्कुल चीफ सेक्रेटरी लेवल की जो बात है वो होनी है, लेकिन प्रशासन की तरफ से कहा गया है कि आप हमें 5 नाम दें और जो 5 लोग होंगे वो आकर के, वो डेलीगेट आकर के बात करेगा। फिलहाल जो ये तस्वीर आप देख पा रहे हैं, यहाँ सिटी एसपी ने समझाने की कोशिश की है कि आप लोगों को बार बार समझाया जा रहा है, आप यहाँ पर शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से अपनी बात कर रहे थे, आप यहाँ से हट जाएं। लेकिन उसके बाद भी किसी भी अभी निष्कर्ष पर बात नहीं पहुंची है। जो छात्र हैं उस तरफ देखेंगे वो अपनी मांग पर अड़े हुए हैं। और सबसे बड़ी, जो सबसे अहम बात है कि दिन भर प्रशांत किशोर पर लोग फोकस रहे। जब हमने उनसे जानने की कोशिश की कि प्रशांत किशोर के आने का इम्पैक्ट क्या होगा, तो उन्होंने साफ तौर पर कहा कि उन्होंने कहा कि ये प्रशांत किशोर मजमा लूटने आए थे। इसका मतलब ये होता है कि वो अपनी राजनीति चमकाने आए थे और प्रशांत किशोर जो करना चाहते थे वो कर कर चले गए। जो अभी भीड़ है वो असली अभ्यर्थी हैं, असली छात्र हैं और ये भीड़ आधी हो चुकी है, यानी कि जो आधी लौट गई वो प्रशांत किशोर के समर्थक थे। तो दिन भर चीज़ें ऐसी होती रही। फिलहाल अभी भी वार्निंग पर वार्निंग प्रशासन की तरफ से दिया जा रहा है ताकि ये जो छात्र हैं अपने कदमों को पीछे हटा लें। और जो बात कही गई है, जो प्रशांत किशोर अभी कह के गए हैं, उस पर बिल्कुल ये छात्र ये कह रहे हैं कि हम अपनी लड़ाई खुद लड़ लेंगे, हमें किसी सहारे की ज़रूरत नहीं है, हमें न तेजस्वी यादव की ज़रूरत है, हमें न पप्पू यादव की ज़रूरत है, ना हमें प्रशांत किशोर की ज़रूरत है। हम अपनी लड़ाई लड़ सकते हैं, हम पढ़ने वाले छात्र हैं और हम कानून और CRPC IPC की जो धाराएं हैं उनको हम पी चुके हैं, जो यहाँ पर जो लोग कहते हैं। और यहाँ पर अभी भी अगर आप देखेंगे तो यहाँ भी अभी पुलिस की मोर्चेबंदी जो है वो अपने तरीके से काम कर रही है, बराबर समझाने का प्रयास किया जा रहा है। और सेंटर पर अगर आप देखेंगे तो वहाँ पर सिटी एसपी यहाँ पर मौजूद हैं, SDM मौजूद हैं और ये चाहते हैं कि जो छात्र हैं यहाँ से लौट जाएं। लेकिन जो छात्र हैं उन्हें आप देख पा रहे हैं, उनका जो आंदोलन है। चलिए हम बात करते हैं कुछ लोगों से और उनसे हम जानते हैं कि आखिर PK के आने का इम्पैक्ट क्या हुआ। प्रशांत किशोर आए तो क्या इम्पैक्ट हुआ? प्रशांत किशोर जब आए तो ऐसा लगा कि छात्रों का नेतृत्व कर रहे हैं, क्या इम्पैक्ट
कर रहे हैं? अभी भी कर रहे हैं, बहुत अच्छा इम्पैक्ट पर आया है। हम लोग और ज़्यादा समर्थन में आए, जहां 1000 था अभी 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 स्टूडेंट बैठे हुए हैं। सरकारें पूरा दबाव बन रही है, प्रशांत किशोर हम लोग के साथ है।
लेकिन प्रशासन तो आपसे कह रहा है कि जब 5 लोगों के नाम दिए जाने हैं, आप लोगों ने 5 नाम दिए नहीं और यहाँ पर मजमा जमा रहे हैं।
नहीं, ऐसा कोई बात नहीं है। हम लोग आपसे
जाएंगे तो टोटल छात्र जाएंगे, 5 लोग नहीं जाएंगे। हम लोग की मांगे आप सरकार हमको पूरे छात्रों को बुलाए, पूरी यूनियन को बुलाए, तब जाकर के हम लोग मानेंगे।
उससे चेयरमैन से मिलवा रहे हैं ना, हम लोग का मांग है CM से मिलवा।
हमें ये बताइए, तो प्रशांत किशोर आने में देर कर दिए?
नहीं सर, कोई देर नहीं किए हैं।
हमारा नेता प्रशांत किशोर नहीं है, ये सारे लड़का लीड कर रहा है यहाँ पे, ये छात्रों लीड कर रहे हैं, कोई नेता लीड नहीं कर रहा है इसको। ये छात्र
जब ये छात्र संसद है तो फैसला छात्रों के बीच में होगा। फिर डेलीगेशन
तो कह रहे हैं कि किसी भी डेलीगेशन की बात नहीं, अब 5 नंबर से नहीं चलेगा। हालांकि PK ने अपनी बात कहकर वहां से निकल गए, जिसे ये कह रहे हैं छात्र की यहाँ पर राजनीति भी अपने तरीके से हुई, वो किसी की बात यहाँ नहीं मानने वाले। लेकिन यहाँ पर आप देखेंगे कि कई यहाँ पर छात्र हैं, उनसे भी हम बात करते हैं। प्रशांत किशोर आए, क्या इम्पैक्ट इसका पड़ा?
इम्पैक्ट ये पड़ा कि लोगों को थोड़ा एकजुट होने में मदद किया उन्होंने। लेकिन अभी जैसे छात्रों को ज़रूरत है कि यहाँ पे हम लोग रात भर रुकना चाहते हैं जब तक हमारी मांगों को पूरा ना किया जाए, क्योंकि ये हम लोग 12 दिन से दे रहे हैं धरना और कोई भी सरकार को इतना पता चलना चाहिए कि उसके राज्य में क्या हो रहा है, क्या नहीं हो रहा है। 12 दिन से एक बच्चा आत्महत्या कर लिया, आपको पता नहीं कि क्या हुआ है। तो कम से कम आके पूछना चाहिए कि हुआ क्या, हुआ नहीं हुआ, गलत है नहीं गलत है, पूछा भी नहीं है।
ये देखिए एक तस्वीर और दिखाते हैं, यहाँ पर देखिए मोबाइल की लाइट जलाकर ये एक प्रशांत किशोर जब आए तो ये समर्थन है उन सभी छात्रों का जो इस युद्ध को लड़ रहे हैं और उनकी डिमांड यही है कि हम जो हैं हम अपनी लड़ाई लड़ सकते हैं। हालांकि हम जल्द ही बिल्कुल ये उपाय ये हम आपको बता रहे हैं। और ये तस्वीरें बहुत खास हैं क्योंकि इन तस्वीरों में आप देखेंगे तो सभी लोग अपनी मोबाइल की लाइट की रोशनी और यहाँ तिरंगा झंडा लेकर आए हैं। आज जिसे शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से कहा जा रहा था, प्रशांत किशोर के जाने के बाद कई संगठन ऐसे थे जो छात्रों का जो गुट था यहाँ पर मौजूद था और यहाँ पर आप आवाज़ भी सुनेंगे कि लोग क्या कह रहे हैं। प्रशांत किशोर आए, कितना इम्पैक्ट पड़ा?
प्रशांत किशोर जी आए, यहाँ पर हम लोग एकजुट हुए, सोचे कि प्रशांत किशोर जी हम लोग को लीड करेंगे, लेकिन प्रशांत किशोर जी आए कुछ देर रुके।
लेकिन कुछ छात्र कह रहे हैं कि राजनीति चमका कर चले गए।
राजनीतिक चमका के गए कि वो अपना मतलब इम्पैक्ट यहाँ पर दिखा के गए, उससे मतलब नहीं है। ये हम लोगों का लड़ाई है, ये हम लोग खुद लड़के जीतेंगे।
लेकिन आप लोग तो एकजुट, गांधी मैदान में तो आप लोग एकजुट नहीं हो रहे थे।
गांधी यहाँ पर भी हम लोग, वहाँ पर पहले एंट्री नहीं दिया गया। गांधी मैदान में सारे पुलिस फोर्स आए
गांधी मैदान में हम लोग को एंट्री नहीं दिया गया। फिर शाम में हम लोग आए, यहाँ पर हम लोग धरना दिए हुए हैं। हम लोग यहाँ पर बैठ के मतलब शांति से, लड़ाई झगड़ा करके नहीं, शांति से हम लोग अपना री एग्जाम करवा के रहेंगे।
तो री एग्जामिनेशन की बात हो रही है, लेकिन आयोग का स्पष्टीकरण साफ तौर पर है। आयोग का कहना है कि हमारे पास ऐसे कोई तथ्य नहीं है जिन तथ्यों के आधार पर हम री एग्जामिनेशन की तरफ बढ़े। एक सेंटर की बात जरूर कही जा रही है, 18,000 स्टूडेंट्स की बात कही जा रही है, और प्रशांत किशोर ने भी इसी बात को कहा कि 18,000 के साथ ही बेईमानी हुई है और बाकियों के साथ नहीं हुई है। तो सभी ने कहा कि नहीं, बेईमानी सबके साथ हुई है और आयोग को इस पर सोचना चाहिए। लेकिन कब तक ये बात होगी, क्योंकि डेलीगेशन वाली बात अब बिल्कुल आधी अधूरी है कि यहाँ से कोई 5 व्यक्ति जाएगा और डेलीगेशन लेकर जाएगा, चीफ सेक्रेटरी से बात करेगा और किसी आधार पर बातचीत होगी। फिलहाल ये नहीं दिखता, लेकिन ये कब तक जमे रहेंगे अभी कुछ कहा नहीं जा सकता। जो छात्र हैं पूरी तरीके से मूड में हैं और छात्रों का कहना, अभ्यर्थियों का कहना है कि उन्हें न्याय मिलना चाहिए। बिहार का युवा रोता है जब जब पेपर लीक होता है। अब ऐसे पोस्टर्स भी लगाए गए हैं और यहाँ पर आप देख पाएंगे एक बड़ी संख्या, 500 से ज्यादा
दिख रहा है। आक्रोश जो है, जो अभ्यर्थियों का आक्रोश है वो दिख रहा है। यहाँ पर फ्लैश लाइट प्रोटेस्ट आर आल्सो हैपनिंग, व्यूअर्स फ्रॉम द प्रोटेस्ट साइड। रिपब्लिक टीवी रिपोर्टिंग live and exclusive. We'll get you the exclusive conversation now, viewers, with the Jan Suraj leader Prashant Kishore, who has been at the forefront of the protest. Take a listen in, viewers.
प्रशांत जी, छात्र इसी बात का इंतजार कर रहे थे, कोई नेतृत्व करता मिले।
देखिए, हम लोग पिछले 2-3 दिनों से सरकार से ये आग्रह कर रहे हैं कि कोई प्रतिनिधि मंडल बनाकर छात्रों से मिल लीजिए। मिलने में क्या दिक्कत है? छात्रों की मांग जायज है या नाजायज? वो बिहार के बच्चे हैं, एक बार उनसे मिल तो लीजिए।
प्रशांत जी, छात्र इसी बात का इंतजार कर रहे थे, कोई नेतृत्व करता मिले।
देखिए, हम लोग पिछले 2-3 दिनों से सरकार से ये आग्रह कर रहे हैं कि कोई प्रतिनिधि मंडल बनाकर छात्रों से मिल लीजिए। मिलने में क्या दिक्कत है? छात्रों की मांग जायज है या नाजायज? वो बिहार के बच्चे हैं, एक बार उनसे मिल तो लीजिए।
And viewers, as we come to the end of this news wheel, let's record and summarize with the note assist using Galaxy AI on Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. So the row over the alleged paper leak in Bihar Public Service Commission exam seemed to be heading for an impasse, with protesting students rejecting the Patna district administration's offer for talks with authorities in the commission and insisting on an appointment with the Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. The protests intensify, with students clashing with police. The students broke the barricading at JP Golambar near Gandhi Maidan during the march towards the Chief Minister house. A large group of Jan Suraj party workers reached the Gandhi Maidan with posters and banners. So that was the precise reading of the news in a much simpler format using the Galaxy AI on Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. We will be back with the headlines in just a few minutes from now.
Amity has been ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally, a testimony to Amity's globally benchmarked quality.
When Nitish Kumar Reddy brought up his maiden test century at the Melbourne cricket ground, his father's joyful reaction to the feat went viral almost instantly. It was more than just a father's joy for his child accomplishing something many dream about, making the country proud at the highest level of the sport and at a time when the team was in a fix. For Mutiala Reddy, This was the moment when he knew that he made the right choice in taking an unconventional and extremely risky path to supporting the dreams of his son. Nitish's father had a comfortable government job, but when faced with the choice of relocation in the year 2012, chose to retire 25 years earlier than he was supposed to and support his son's fledgling cricket journey. It was a big risk, especially since his only source of earnings after that was the interest from the retirement funds that he received. The decision was questioned by many people, and Mutiala's main hope was to see his son make it to the state's Ranji Trophy team. Any talk of an India call-up seemed far-fetched at best. But Nitish not only made it to the domestic team, he also impressed in the IPL for the Sunrisers Hyderabad and was thus fast-tracked into the Test team. Aged 21, he was seen as one for the future, the answer to India's pace bowling all-rounder problem in the long term. But as Reddy proved at the MCG, the future is now. At stumps on Saturday at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, India still trailed Australia by 116 runs in the first innings, but it
Well, I love that avatar of mine. Ignite your imagination with Portrait Studio feature powered by Galaxy AI on your Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, and self-portraits instantly turn into incredible work of art. Galaxy AI is here.
Hi there, welcome back to your favorite deep dive show on stories contemporary and consequential. This week we revisit the developments in Bangladesh. Third time we do since August. And the reason is the national security challenges that are emanating from Bangladesh for India. Very real threat to our northeast. Let's look at those. Second, true to his self, President-elect Donald Trump is redrawing the US foreign policy map even before he takes over. This week, he has sought to purchase Greenland from Denmark, threatened taking over of the Panama Canal, and repeated his jibes at Trudeau and Canada yet again. It's an interesting lineup of contests shaping up with consequences for global trade and politics. And the response of Denmark to Trump's swipe is symptomatic of what's happening in Europe, or what's ailing Europe. The continent is increasingly looking like it is in decline. As we close the year with this edition, we take a hard look at the phenomenon and the consequences of the decline of Europe on Europeans and the rest of the world. Let's get going. This week was chock-a-block with developments in our eastern neighborhood. Bangladesh in turmoil since the August strife that deposed Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina sent an extradition request to get her back twice in a span of 48 hours. It would have been surprising given that our Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri was in Dhaka for a day just a fortnight ago, and sources tell me nothing on this front came up during the discussions. It is not surprising, however, if you piece together the events of this week and connect the dots. The day that Hasina's extradition was sought, Mohammad Yunus regime appointed Nasim ul Ghani the Home Affairs advisor to the government. That's an interesting choice. Ghani is one of the founders of Hizb ut-Tahrir, a proscribed terror organization in India and Bangladesh. HUT played a behind-the-scenes role in hijacking the students' protest and turning them into a regime change operation, along with the Jamaat cadres during the July-August turmoil. Originally set up in Palestine in the 1950s, Hizb ut-Tahrir has since developed pan-Islamic presence across Muslim countries. The Bangladesh chapter came up in the year 2000 when Begum Khaleda Zia-led BNP government was in power. It aims to form a Sharia-compliant caliphate in the Muslim world, if need be with the use of violence and terror. Banned in Bangladesh by Hasina in 2009, Ghani's appointment puts the organization en route to revival. Worryingly for us, its cadres are active in at least 4 states of India, and the NIA charge-sheeted 2 of them in Tamil Nadu just this week in a terror case. They were arrested in the month of June after surveillance found them recruiting youth to indulge in terrorism by way of online and offline indoctrination. Days before this appointment, another key aide of Yunus, Mahfouz Alam, posted on his Facebook page a map of what some Bangladeshis call the Greater Bangladesh, a territorial fantasy that includes parts of Tripura, Assam, Meghalaya, and Bengal in their country. That was provocative and the post was promptly deleted. Perhaps it was aimed at eliciting the response it got. Remember, Alam is the same guy introduced by Yunus as the mastermind of the August uprising in Dhaka to his New York audience. Also this week, a Dhaka court freed former minister and BNP leader Abdus Salam Pinto. Now, who is this Pinto? He was accused of organizing terror training camps for Harkatul Jihad-e-Islami, or HUJI, the Pak-occupied Kashmir-based anti-India terrorist organization carrying out acts of terror in Kashmir Valley in the early 2000s. So obviously, Pinto was on the rolls of Pakistan's ISI. He indulged in these anti-India activities while he was the Deputy Minister of Education in the Khaleda Zia government. He was arrested in 2008 in connection with the 2004 Dhaka grenades attack on an Awami League rally in which 24 League cadres died. Now he's a free man. Released along with him was Lutfuzzama Babar, one of the main accused in the Chittagong arms haul case of 2004. Babar had opposed the birth of Bangladesh in 1971 and created a militia that fought alongside the Pakistan army against the Mukti Bahini and the Indian army. He's also a free man now. Gives you an idea of what mentality is controlling events in Dhaka today. You know what's the Chittagong or Chittagong arms haul case? 10 trucks of arms and ammunition meant for ultras in India's northeast were intercepted in Chittagong. The supplies were brokered by Pakistan's ISI, picked from China in a Chinese ship and brought to Bangladesh via Thailand when they were intercepted based on an Indian intelligence operation. Hang on, there's more. Also this week, a Bangladeshi court commuted the death sentence of Ulfa terrorist Paresh Barua to life term in jail. Now hiding somewhere in China, and our agencies know where, Barua was provided a safe house in Bangladesh for a long time when BNP was in power in Dhaka. Guess what? During the Chittagong Arms Hall that I just mentioned, Barua was coordinating from one of those safe houses there for the onward journey of the contraband to India's troubled northeast. In effect, we're back to square one. After the peace dividend of Hasina years, the present establishment in Dhaka is hell-bent on promoting anti-India circumstances. Yunus might have personal motivations against Hasina. For in a case of excess, he was convicted and sought to be put in jail by her government last year. Maybe that is the reason why he has been picked. But the larger agenda is to create a situation in which India's national security gets compromised. And it's getting visible as we speak. One Bangladeshi national, Saad Radi, was nabbed by Assam police from Kerala a few days back. Radi is an active member of the Al-Qaeda affiliate Ansarullah Bangla team, the ABT, whose leader Jashimuddin Rahmani was released by the Yunus regime in August itself. He had entered India, Radi, in November with the objective of activating ABT sleeper cells in Assam and Bengal. 8 others were nabbed along with him by the Assam police and have admitted to plans to activate sleeper cells through places like Murshidabad and Falkata and Dhubri with the objective of carrying out terror activities. The fact that he was caught from Kerala shows how deep the support system exists for these Bangladeshi radicals, compromising India's national security. Just a day before the Assam STF busted this terror module, 5 Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh JMB terrorists were apprehended from Kokrajhar and Dhubri districts, again a banned organization. The Assam police operation gives you an idea of the kind of hawk's eye our agencies are keeping on activities originating out of Bangladesh. They better be warned, for we know a lot more perhaps than we are showing at this stage. India won't brook any compromise with its national security. And more importantly, given the danger to her life, extraditing Sheikh Hasina is out of question. Moving on. President-elect of the United States, Donald Trump, is having fun ahead of his inauguration, redrawing the American foreign policy. If he executes in office what he has been saying as a build-up, not just the foreign policy, Trump might end up redrawing the map of the United States of America itself. Over this week, part jokingly, often seriously, Trump has claimed American national interest over the Panama Canal, over Greenland, which is part of the Kingdom of Denmark, and of course called Canada 51st state of the USA umpteenth time. The joke bit is reserved for the last one, for Justin Trudeau specifically. The Canadian PM has been made to pay obeisance at the Mar-a-Lago residence of Trump, and a day after the meeting called the governor of the state of Canada just to rub in the insult. In a preemptive move, Trudeau made his deputy PM and the finance minister, Chrystia Freeland, leave the government, hoping to mollycoddle Trump, but to no avail. Trudeau's in permanent crisis mode from here or till he's ultimately phased out early next year. There's a third no-confidence motion against him, with 50 Ontario MPs calling for his removal this week. Latest opinion polls show 73% of overall Canadian voters and 43% of Liberals want him out. Ally NDP under Sikh radical Jagmeet Singh, for whom Trudeau has taken Canada's relationship with India on a limb, has decided to vote against him when the parliament meets after winter holidays. Trudeau's decision to impose an emergency during the 2022 truckers' protest has been declared unconstitutional by courts, and Trudeau faces charges of personal corruption in connection with the foundation in his father's name. Canadians are facing a long-running housing crisis, unaffordable rents, double-digit inflation, unemployment inching closer to double digits, and the economy in a mess. Guess they might not mind becoming the 51st state of the USA if continuing to have Trudeau as PM is their only other option. Trump perhaps sees that. But the American president-elect's more serious charge came against Panama, one which has geopolitical consequences. Trump told a conservative conference in Arizona that Panama was charging U.S. ships ridiculous, highly unfair fees to use its namesake canal. That if the ripoff did not stop, he would demand the canal to be returned to the United States. Trump added he did not want the Panama Canal falling into the wrong hands and specifically cited China, which has significant interests in the waterway. The comment on Panama was not off the cuff. A day before, Trump had posted on his social media that the canal was a vital national asset for America. In fact, in September last year, he mentioned taking back Panama Canal to Tucker Carlson in a podcast. Why is it weighing so much on Trump's mind? That's where American geopolitics comes in. The 81 kilometers long channel connects Pacific Ocean with the Atlantic, providing a narrow passage for the ships carrying much of American trade. Originally a French initiative, the Americans took over the construction sometime in 1885 after the French failed. The engineering marvel had claimed over 35,000 lives in its making, mostly to malaria and yellow fever that plagued the wooded Central American geography at that time. The ownership of the canal was handed over to Panama by the Carter administration in 1977, and there's a neutrality agreement that keeps the passageway open to international traffic. Over 14,000 ships pass through it annually, carrying 5% of global maritime trade. 75% of the US $270 billion per annum freight through Panama is either import to or export from America, irrespective of which country's ships are carrying it. Now here's the catch. The Chinese are the second biggest users of the canal after the United States and have backed it up with investments in Panama. The impact of Chinese presence can be gauged from the fact that in 2017, Panama cut its diplomatic ties with Taiwan and declared it a part of China. Obviously, for the Americans, the threat of Chinese presence in their backyard is both geo-economic and geostrategic. China, on its part, was quick to jump in with a statement by its embassy saying it recognizes the canal as the sovereign territory of Panama and that the canal shall remain a permanently neutral international passageway. It is unlikely that we are going to see any military action on the Panama front. The government might tweak the tariffs, which the dealmaker Trump might like. Ultimately, this posturing could just be another pressure point to leverage in the overall trade war that Trump is planning. President Trump's next territorial claim, however, is the one that has created the biggest diplomatic ripples. Nursing a grudge from his last term, perhaps, Trump crossed the Atlantic this time and reached for Greenland, an autonomous territory of Denmark. In 2019, too, he had sought to purchase the island from the kingdom. Greenland is in the Arctic Circle, is rich in minerals, and it straddles the shortest route that connects north of Europe with North America. That explains the geostrategic importance of the real estate occupying Trump's mind. A peaked Danish government said it was not up for sale. What must have got the Danes worried is the use of words absolute necessity by Trump. That they want to take it by force. Again, unlikely. But as in the case of the Panama Canal, so here, the overarching concern seems to be national security. If China is the bugbear in the former, Russia is a clear and present danger in this case. The reason why the United States maintains a strong airbase with a Space Force component on the island. Back in 2019, on a similar refusal by Mette Frederiksen, Danish Prime Minister, a miffed Trump had cancelled his Denmark trip, leading to a bit of a diplomatic froth across Europe. The idea of the US buying Greenland, in fact, goes back to the early 1900s, when a rising America had thought of securing its sea lanes by purchasing that huge mass of ice. Harry S. Truman again toyed with the idea during the war years of 1940s, but was subsequently abandoned till Trump raised it again in 2019.
Now, Denmark, I looked forward to going, but I thought that the Prime Minister's statement that it was absurd, the idea was nasty.
Like in the case of NATO, Trump perhaps wants Denmark to pay for its security rather than actually buy into the expensive European welfare system that Greenlanders are used to at Denmark's expense. More likely, it is just that pressure tactic. As if on cue, hours after Trump's shout-out, the Danish government announced a huge defense boost for Greenland security that included a couple of drones and 2 dog sled teams. Whatever the Danes believe, those Great Danes would suffice for a Normandy-style storming just in case Trump presses the button. It sounds comic, but for the fact that it's part of a larger tragedy panning out in Europe, that of its decline. That takes us to our third segment. In his first salvo at the European Union, Donald Trump took Brussels in a pincer, announcing either it buys more US oil and gas to balance trade or be ready to face tariffs. I told the European Union that they must make up their tremendous deficit with the United States by the larger scale purchase of our oil and gas. Otherwise, it is tariffs all the way, Trump wrote on his Truth Social platform on Friday. EU scurried for cover. Both President Ursula von der Leyen and ECB head Christine Lagarde asked member countries to buy more from USA, both energy and other US-made stuff. The threat has worked. EU had, in fact, preemptively increased buying of US LNG this past month, anticipating Trump tantrums. US is already the largest supplier of LNG to EU, accounting for 48% of the total supplies against 16% from Russia this quarter. While this gives you an idea of the kind of impact a mercurial Trump is already having, it also speaks volumes about the situation Europe finds itself in. From a sheepish response of Denmark to the EU leaders calibrating their conduct even before Trump takes office. There's a reason why the US would boss around Europe, Trump or no Trump. In 2008, the two economies were largely equal in size at roughly $14 trillion. Today, the United States stands at 28 trillion, 50% more than EU's 19 trillion. Nothing exemplifies Europe's economic slide better than the Volkswagen crisis. Europe's biggest employer in Europe's biggest economy, Germany, announced in September that it was contemplating shuttering down 3 of its car manufacturing units to ward off bankruptcy. Europe has lost the edge in industry and technology. Take a look at the top 10 tech companies of the world by market cap. 1 to 7 are American corporations, 8th is Taiwanese, 9th is Chinese, and 10th from South Korea. There are only 4 European companies in top 50 global big tech list. The first in the list appears at number 13 for Europe, then comes SAP at 18th, and then Schneider at distant 30. Another stat. There's not a single company in the European Union with a market cap of over 100 billion euros, which has been set up from scratch in the last 50 years. European businesses are plagued with lower profits, slower revenue growth, and much lesser R&D spends vis-a-vis their American counterparts. There's no Silicon Valley parallel in Europe. Hemmed in by national boundaries, the market size limitation is compounded by layers of national rules, policies, and laws, and consequent compliance burden. And then there is the ideological cholesterol by way of postmodernist regulation, from climate change to woke accent on diversity, from strict labor laws to consumer-centric competition policies. While there's a certain idealism that guides those positions, together they have had an impact of stifling innovation and making corporations scoot for cover. Add to it the aging demographics, labor shortages, immigrant dependencies, and related civil strife due to the uncontrolled migration. And Europe presents a picture of an economy gone sick. Listen to this right-wing leader, Alice Weidel, taking Olaf Scholz to the cleaners for the situation in Germany in Bundestag.
Die Bürger haben ganz genau begriffen, dass ihre Politik Wohlstandsvernichtung, Deindustrialisierung, Massenmigration und Verlust der inneren Sicherheit bedeutet. Sie sind der Kanzler des Niedergangs, Herr Scholz.
You are the chancellor of decline, she said in this speech, around the time that Volkswagen made that shuttering decision. Since the year 2008, 30% of unicorns born in EU countries have migrated to the United States. Not that the leadership is not aware. A committee was set up to diagnose the sickness and prescribe a way out by the European Commission. Former ECB president and one of Europe's sharpest economic minds, Mario Draghi, was tasked to present a vision for the future of Europe. The Draghi report admits that European foundations are shaken. Europe missed out on the tech revolution led by the internet and the consequent productivity gains. It predicts a dire picture of Europe struggling at present levels of GDP even by 2050 if drastic measures are not taken. Imagine the morass Europe finds itself in, that Draghi says in his report. A resuscitation of the economy would need capital infusion 3 times that of the Marshall Plan in scale. I quote, "There's an existential challenge. We have to choose. If we don't, we would be forced to choose. We would need to scale back our ambition on many fronts, from development at home to independence on the world stage." Draghi muses. It is likely that most EU leaders concur. Among prescriptions is closing the innovation gap with US, China, doing something to reduce energy dependence on the rest of the world. Except for Norway, Europe does not have much of its own energy reserves, and addressing this issue is going to decide the future effectively, admits Draghi. We should abandon the illusion that only procrastination can preserve consensus. In fact, procrastination has only produced slower growth. We have reached a point where without action, we will have to either compromise our welfare, our environment, or our freedom, he concludes. The diagnosis is scathing and the medicine is strong, said Chatham House on the report. But there's a bigger crisis above all, the crisis of leadership and confidence. There's an absence of self-belief. The Supreme Court in Romania countermanded the national election last month, citing TikTok manipulation. Yes, the topmost court of Romania in Bucharest ruled that the election was hijacked by TikTok videos of the right-wing leader who was in the lead. Europe looks tentative, little lost. As we head into the new year, there's a certain self-doubt and confusion that afflicts the bloc. Scholz just lost his government in Germany. Emmanuel Macron has faced headwinds post the EU elections, shuffling 2 prime ministers. Starmer already looks directionless. Of course, UK is Europe, but not EU. This crisis of self was encapsulated by the only leader of Europe who seems to be sitting pretty. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, while addressing the Atlantic Council in New York on the sidelines of the UNGA. Listen in.
This analysis was focused on Meloni's Western nationalism. The author, which is called Dr. Constantini, argues that my political belief is in what might be called Western nationalism, a thought which at its heart embodies the survival and renaissance of Western civilization, which according to Constantini is new to the European scene.
Her solution to the decline of Europe? Greek philosophy, Roman law, Christian humanism, and Michael Jackson. Thanks for watching.
Amity has been ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally, a testimony to Amity's globally benchmarked quality.
Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Suesha Sawant and thank you for joining us on Republic TV. We'll get you the news summarized with no assist using Galaxy AI on Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. No end to the politics over Manmohan Memorial. BJP alleges Congress members did not come to collect Dr. Singh's mortal remains. Republic only channel reporting from Patna. Protesters clash with cops, say we won't take part in talks without CM joining. Kejriwal has levelled big charge against BJP ahead of Delhi polls, claiming BJP is manipulating voters' list. Death toll mounts in South Korea plane crash tragedy, 179 reported dead. And that was the news summarized with note assist using Galaxy AI on Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Let's begin with the big story of the day. And we got across to the latest details coming in. Patna witnessing high tension as thousands of Bihar Public Service Commission aspirants who continued their protest at Gandhi Maidan in Patna demanding a re-examination of the 70th BPSC preliminary exams. The demonstrators firm on their demand to meet with Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar to discuss the ongoing impasse broke through two barricades set up by the cops. Let's listen into what the cops are saying.
वेन्यू के लिए चले गए?
ये हमको जानकारी नहीं है। आप
कोई मीटिंग तो नहीं मतलब थी?
उनके द्वारा कुछ ऐसा नहीं बोला गया। उनको हमने मौका दिया, जो वो लीड कर रहे थे इसको, उनको बोला हमने कि आप जो है अपना प्रतिनिधि मंडल हमको दीजिए। उसमें ना तो उन्होंने 5 नाम ही दिए, ना ही व्यक्तियों को हमारे समक्ष लेकर आया गया। उसी में इन्होंने धक्का मुक्की शुरू की। उसके बावजूद प्रशासन ने कोई एक्शन नहीं लिया। हम लोग वहीं बने रहे, हम खुद वहाँ पर खड़े रहे। उसके बाद भी इनसे अनुरोध किया, उनके बाद भी हम लोगों ने अनुरोध किया कि आपके द्वारा अगर किसी से मिलना चाहते हैं, चीफ सेक्रेटरी सर जो है खुद इन लोगों से मिलने के लिए तैयार थे, परंतु इनके द्वारा जो है खाली नहीं किया जा रहा था और ना ही अपनी मांग जो है आगे रखी जा रही थी। बार बार अनुरोध करने के बावजूद कि आप इस चीज़ को यहाँ खाली कर दीजिए, हम लोगों ने प्यार से सबको वहाँ से उठाया, फिर भी जो है ये लोग वहीं जमे हुए थे। उसके बावजूद जो है जब हम लोगों ने इनको वार्निंग दी कि हम आपको यहाँ से हटा रहे हैं, इनके द्वारा जो है अवरुद्ध किया गया। पूरा यातायात काफ़ी घंटों से जो है यहाँ पर बंद था, लोग फंसे हुए थे उसमें। और उसके बाद जो है हम लोगों ने पानी का यूज़ किया। पानी के यूज़ में हम लोग भी साथ में उनके खड़े रहे, फिर भी हम लोगों ने कोशिश की कि उनको हटाया जाए या उनको जो है समझाया जाए, लेकिन जो है वो अपना चीज़ों को लेके अड़े हुए थे, ना ही कोई मांग रख रहे थे और ना ही किसी जनप्रतिनिधि जो भी उनके जो लीड कर रहे थे,
दिख रही थी,
जो लीडर थे वो भी हमारे सामने नहीं आए, ना ही लोग हमारे सामने आए। फिर भी जो है गर्दनी बाग धरना स्थल से लेके जो है गांधी मूर्ति पे आज इन्होंने जाम किया बिना अनुमति के। उसके बावजूद जो है जेपी गोलंबर पे वहाँ धक्का मुक्की की गई। फिर बार बार हमारे द्वारा अनुरोध करने पर भी जो है धक्का मुक्की की गई।
में कोई आगे आप लोग
विधि सम्मत कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
चलिए, धन्यवाद। हमसे बात कर रही थी।
चलिए, यहाँ पर जो साफ तौर पर सिटी एसपी ने साफ तौर पर कहा कि कई बार समझाइश की कोशिश की गई, समझाया गया, लेकिन जब बात नहीं मानी गई उसके बाद एक्शन लेना पड़ा। पहले हल्का बल प्रयोग करना पड़ा, उसके बाद वाटर कैनन का इस्तेमाल किया गया, बात तब भी नहीं बनी। उसके बाद लाठीचार्ज करनी पड़ी और इस पूरे भीड़ को इकट्ठा जो यहाँ पर हो गई थी उसे तितर बितर करने में पुलिस ने कामयाबी पाई, प्रशासन ने कामयाबी पाई। तो कुल मिलाकर यहाँ पर अब जो अगर तस्वीरें अगर आप देखेंगे तो वाटर कैनन के इस्तेमाल के बाद से ही, लाठीचार्ज के बाद से ही तस्वीरें बदल चुकी हैं और जो भी यहाँ पर जो एक भीड़ इकट्ठा थी वो अब शांत हो चुकी है।
Vivek, while the situation now seems under control, but what is the solution that the Bihar government is planning from here on? Because we understand that a minor scuffle also broke out between both the sides, and it has certainly not been easy for the cops to also take control. Given the fact that the aspirants are adamant that they will want Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar to talk on the ongoing impasse, what's expected will happen?
देखिए यहाँ पर जो है हमने बराबर कहा कि ये दिन में ही तय हुआ और दिन में इस बात को लेकर तय हुआ प्रशांत किशोर के रहते कि जो डेलीगेशन है 5 लोगों का वो मुख्य सचिव लेवल पर बात होगी, लेकिन बार बार अनाउंसमेंट की गई कि आपकी तरफ से अभी तक 5 लोगों के नाम नहीं दिए गए हैं, तो कौन आएगा बात करने के लिए, ताकि जो मसौदा तैयार हुआ है उसके आधार पर आप आगे बात करेंगे। लेकिन अभी जो खबर है कि अंत तक बात नहीं बनी, 3 नहीं बल्कि 5 बार माइकिंग की गई और माइकिंग के बाद बात नहीं बनी, तो निष्कर्ष ये निकला कि इस भीड़ को तितर बितर करना ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि ये जो भीड़ है और उग्र हो चली थी। ऐसे में सबसे पहले इन्हें समझाया गया, हल्का बल प्रयोग किया गया, उसके बाद वाटर कैनन का इस्तेमाल किया गया और उसके बाद लाठीचार्ज की गई। तो आप जिस गोलंबर पर इस वक्त हम खड़े हैं, ये पौष गोलंबर है और कई सड़कों को यहाँ पर जोड़ता है राजधानी पटना की। तो यहाँ पर एक बात समझनी होगी कि प्रशांत किशोर जो कहना चाहते थे वो कह गए, लेकिन छात्रों का जो गुट है वो 2 अलग अलग भागों में नजर आता है। एक गुट जो है वो ये कहता है कि जो प्रशांत किशोर हैं उन्होंने अपनी राजनीति चमका ली, उन्होंने राजनीति चमकानी थी, अपने लोगों के साथ आए थे और चले गए। दूसरी बात कि जो यहाँ पर लोग मौजूद थे वो चाहते थे कि प्रशांत किशोर इस आंदोलन को जो हवा देकर गए हैं उस हवा में वो बैठे रहें और यह आवाज़ सरकार तक पहुँच जाए, लेकिन कोई ऐसा प्रयास नहीं किया गया। छात्रों से जब हमने बात की तो छात्रों ने ये कहा कि हम 5 क्यों जाएंगे, हमें सभी को लेकर जाना है, किसी डेलीगेशन की बात नहीं होगी, क्योंकि वहाँ हम जाएंगे तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि आयोग हमारे लिए कुछ नए चीज़ लाकर सामने रखेगा। तो कुल मिलाकर जो स्थिति है अभी उसके बारे में हम बात करें कि जाम इन्हीं सड़कों पर था और सड़कों पर जो पानी है वो ये बता रहा है कि कुछ देर पहले यहाँ भीड़ जमा थी जो अपनी बात को रखना चाह रही थी, लेकिन जब बात नहीं बनी तो प्रशासन को एक्शन लेना पड़ा। और इसके बाद की तस्वीर हम आपको दिखा रहे हैं, ज़रा मोड़िए कैमरे को, और कैमरे को अगर आप देखिएगा तो इस गोलंबर के चारों तरफ यहीं पर जो छात्र हैं वो तालियां बजा रहे थे, उनकी भीड़ इकट्ठा हो रही थी, उनकी संख्या 500 से ज़्यादा थी, लगभग 1000 की थी, और आखिरकार उन्हें पीछे हटना पड़ा क्योंकि यहाँ पर पानियों की बौछार करनी पड़ी। और जैसा कि अभी आपने सुना कि सिटी एसपी ने साफ तौर पर कहा कि हमने कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ी उन्हें समझाने के लिए, लेकिन एक बात जो पूरे इस दरमियान जो अहम है कि छात्रों ने खुलकर कहा कि हमें किसकी मदद की ज़रूरत नहीं, हम अपनी लड़ाई खुद लड़ लेंगे, हमें वो शक्ति है, हमें न तेजस्वी यादव की ज़रूरत है, हमें न पप्पू यादव की ज़रूरत है, ना हमें प्रशांत किशोर की ज़रूरत है, हम अपनी बात पहुंचाएंगे। लेकिन भीड़ के तितर बितर होने के बाद वो बयान, वो बातें अभी बंद सी हो गई हैं। लेकिन देखना ये होगा कि कल जो सुबह है वो क्या कहती है। और यहाँ भी अभी भी आप देख पा रहे हैं जो लोग जिनकी गिरफ्तारियां हुई हैं यहाँ पर, जो कि आंदोलन में जुटे हुए थे, जो प्रदर्शनकारी थे, जो नारेबाजी कर रहे थे और प्रशासन के समझाने के बाद भी नहीं हटे, उनकी गिरफ्तारियां यहाँ पर हो रही हैं और यहाँ पर बसें लगाई गई हैं और इस बस के अंदर उन सभी लोगों को चिन्हित कर ले जाया जा रहा है और इनके ऊपर जब चार्जेस फ्रेम होंगे। और ये तस्वीरें हम आपको दिखा रहे हैं, यहाँ पर जो प्रदर्शनकारी थे उन्हें इन्हीं बसों के अंदर रखा गया है और ये कहा जा रहा है कि क्या कहना है प्रशांत किशोर के, तो ये गाड़ी चल पड़ी है और जिन लोगों को यहाँ पर इस प्रदर्शन के दौरान पकड़ा गया अब उनकी गिरफ्तारियां कर ली गई हैं। यानी कि यहाँ पर जो आप देख पा रहे हो, कुछ लोग जो जख्मी हुए, एम्बुलेंस की व्यवस्था यहाँ पर की गई है और कुछ छात्राओं को, कुछ अभ्यर्थियों को यहाँ पर चोटें आई हैं। तो यहाँ पर आप देख पा रहे हैं कि एम्बुलेंस यहाँ पर लगी हुई है, उनके लिए पहले से इंतजाम किए थे कि ऐसा कुछ अगर होगा तो उस स्थिति से निपटने के लिए हमें अपनी तैयारियां फुल प्रूफ रखनी है। यानी प्रशासन पूरी तरीके से तैयार था, लेकिन ये अंदेशा नहीं था कि इसी चौराहे पर, इसी गोलंबर पर एक बड़ी भीड़ जुटेगी, उन पर एक्शन होगा और ये एम्बुलेंस में वो जो जख्मी अभ्यर्थी हैं उनको ले जाते हुए, जिनकी तबीयत खराब थी, बावजूद इसके वो यहाँ पर मौजूद थे, लेकिन वो भी बोलने की स्थिति में नहीं है। कोशिश की जा रही है, वो कुछ भी बोलने की स्थिति में नहीं है और यहाँ पर वो हाथ हिला रहे हैं और उनका और उन्होंने विक्ट्री साइन दिखाई है, यानी कि जीत हमारी होगी। आप समझिए, आप ये समझिए कि इनकी हालत बेहद ही ख़राब है और उस भीड़ में जहां से इन्हें निकाला गया, पुलिस ने हल्का बल प्रयोग किया, उन्हें निकाला गया और अंदर जो मेडिकल टीम मौजूद है ये इशारा कर रही है कि आप चुप रहें, आप बात ना करें। लेकिन इतना तय है कि जो छात्र, जो अभ्यर्थी यहाँ पर मौजूद थे, उन्होंने इशारों में अपनी बात कही और ये कहा कि जीत हमारी होगी। लेकिन नेतृत्व कौन करेगा, नेतृत्वकर्ता कौन है, प्रशांत किशोर है या कौन है, इसके बारे में अभी तक कुछ भी पता नहीं है, क्योंकि इसके कई एंगल्स। और रिपब्लिक भारत सबसे पहले उन छात्रों की आवाज़ हम आप तक पहुँचाएंगे जिन्होंने आकर यहाँ पर अपनी राजनीतिक रोटियां सेकने की कोशिश की है, राजनीति चमकाने की कोशिश की है, या फिर उनकी जो मांगे हैं 3 से 4 मांगे उसे पूरी करने के लिए दम भरा है। तो ये जरूरी है जी।
Absolutely, Vivek. Do stay on with us. We also have that response from Prashant Kishore. Let's listen into that, after which I come back to you.
प्रशांत जी, छात्र इसी बात का इंतजार कर रहे थे, कोई नेतृत्वकर्ता मिले।
देखिए, हम लोग पिछले 2-3 दिनों से सरकार से ये आग्रह कर रहे हैं कि कोई प्रतिनिधि मंडल बनाकर छात्रों से मिल लीजिए। मिलने में क्या दिक्कत है? छात्रों की मांग जायज है या नाजायज? वो बिहार के बच्चे हैं, एक बार उनसे मिल तो लीजिए।
प्रशांत जी, छात्र इसी बात का इंतजार कर रहे थे, कोई नेतृत्वकर्ता मिले।
देखिए, हम लोग पिछले 2-3 दिनों से सरकार से ये आग्रह कर रहे हैं कि कोई प्रतिनिधि मंडल बनाकर छात्रों से मिल लीजिए। मिलने में क्या दिक्कत है? छात्रों की मांग जायज है या नाजायज? वो बिहार के बच्चे हैं, एक बार उनसे मिल तो लीजिए।
For the moment, we also shift focus to tell you how the Aam Aadmi Party has accused the BJP. In fact, Aam Aadmi Party National Convener Arvind Kejriwal, who has claimed that BJP has been manipulating the electoral roll ahead of the Delhi Assembly polls, and also charged that there is a significant spike in applications for deletion and addition of voters in New Delhi seat. In the recent days, Kejriwal also filed a complaint with the district election officer in this regard. Listen in to what he said.
उनके पास ना कोई दिल्ली के लिए विजन है कि वो दिल्ली वालों के लिए क्या करना चाहते हैं, क्या करेंगे, ना उनके पास कैंडिडेट्स हैं। अब बीजेपी बेईमानी से चुनाव लड़के किसी भी तरह से जीतना चाहती है। नई दिल्ली विधानसभा का इनका ऑपरेशन लोटस 15 दिसंबर से चालू हुआ है। 15 दिसंबर से आज तक, यानी कि 15 दिन में इन्होंने लगभग 5000 एप्लीकेशन डिलीशन की डाली है। 5000 वोटर्स डिलीट करने की एप्लीकेशन 15 दिन में डाली है और लगभग 7500 एप्लीकेशन इन्होंने एडिशन की डाली है। मैं आप लोगों की जानकारी के लिए बता दूं कि चुनाव आयोग ने 7500 एप्लीकेशंस एडिशन की, 7500 वोट ऐड कराने के लिए और 5000 वोट डिलीट कराने के लिए, और मेरी विधानसभा में टोटल वोट 1,06,000 हैं। 1,06,000 में से लगभग 5% वोट ये डिलीट करवा रहे हैं, 7.5% वोट ये ऐड करवा रहे हैं। तो चुनाव कराने का ज़रूरत ही क्या है? चुनाव बचा क्या उसके बाद? चुनाव तो कुछ नहीं बचा। 12% वोट अगर इधर के उधर कर देंगे तो फिर तो चुनाव कुछ बचा ही नहीं। खेल हो रहा है इस देश के अंदर चुनाव के नाम पे।
नई दिल्ली विधानसभा क्षेत्र में जहां के विधायक श्री अरविंद केजरीवाल जी हैं, वहां पर हमारी पत्नी अनीता सिंह जी का नाम कटवाने के लिए एप्लीकेशन दे दी, और एक बार नहीं दी, 2 बार दे दी। 24 दिसंबर को और 26 दिसंबर को। हमारी पत्नी अनीता सिंह जी जौनपुर की रहने वाली हैं, ये भी पूर्वांचल से हैं। मैंने पूर्वांचल का मुद्दा उठाया, यूपी बिहार के लोगों का मुद्दा उठाया, तो अब इस बात पे लग गया कि इनको ही सबक सिखाओ, इनकी पत्नी का ही वोट कटवा दो, तब इनको अकल आएगी। ऐसे मत करो बीजेपी वालों, नड्डा साहब ऐसे तो मत कीजिए। इस तरह से तो दिल्ली के अंदर चुनावी घोटाला मत करो भाजपाइयों।
BJP has hit back at Arvind Kejriwal after these allegations, saying that the Aam Aadmi Party is peddling fake narrative.
विश्वास है कि दिल्ली की जनसंख्या 2 करोड़ से अधिक होगी, 2 करोड़ होगी या 3 करोड़ होगी, उसके बीच में होगी। उसमें महिलाएं कितनी होंगी, रजिस्टर्ड कितनी होंगी, उसमें करिए। ये कम से कम नहीं तो 20-30 हज़ार करोड़ का खर्चा है, और दिल्ली में सरकार का उतना टोटल बजट है। तो ये सिर्फ गप नहीं है, लार्ज स्केल फ्रॉड है।
सर, एक और चार्जेस लगे हैं कि ऑपरेशन लोटस चलाया जा रहा है दिल्ली में, और 15 दिसंबर से ये ऑपरेशन लोटस चल रहा है, जिसमें आप लोगों ने 5000 वोटर्स के नाम कटवा दिए, 7000 वोटर्स के नाम डिलीशन जुड़वा दिए। तो इस तरीके की चीजें, जब 12% वोटर्स के नाम ही कट जाएंगे तो फिर इलेक्शन करवाने का क्या फायदा? एक बड़ा खेल आप लोग कर रहे हैं।
मैडम, मैं आपसे सिर्फ एक रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा। ये वही केजरीवाल और वही आम आदमी पार्टी है जो कुछ समय पहले कह रही थी कि हम लोग में भारतीय जनता पार्टी रोहिंग्यास को यहाँ लाए। ये खुद कह रहे थे, ठीक है। उन्होंने ये भी कहा था कि हमने पता नहीं क्या स्टेटमेंट दिया, हम सब क्लैरिफाई कर चुके हैं। आप मेरे को एक चीज़ बताइए, आपको लगता है कि रोहिंग्यास जो हैं, मैं अब वो अमानतुल्ला खान है या कौन से उनके विधायक, उन्होंने कहा कि वो उनको हर 10,000 रुपये महीने भी देते हैं, सेटल भी करते हैं। आपको लगता है किसी कंडीशन में वो लोग भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लिए वोट करेंगे? सवाल ही नहीं है। ये सब इन्होंने किया है, और ये इलीगल इन्फिल्ट्रेटर्स जो होते हैं उनको ये सेटल करा के उनकी वोटें बनवाई हैं। अगर वो वोटें अब कटवाएंगे, मैं तो कहता हूँ हमारी डेमोक्रेटिक प्रोसेस के लिए बहुत अच्छा होगा। इसलिए केजरीवाल जी को पता नहीं होता, आज कुछ बोलते हैं, जब झूठ पकड़ा जाता है उनका फिर एकदम पलट जाते हैं।
संजय सिंह माननीय सांसद हैं, मैं पहले तो उन्हीं से पूछना चाहूँगा कि आप अरविंद केजरीवाल को वोट क्यों नहीं देना चाहते? खुद संजय सिंह तिलक नगर में उनका वोट बना हुआ है। 1 साल से नई दिल्ली में रह रहे हो भाई, अपना वोट तो कम से कम यहाँ कर लेते, लेकिन ये खुद अरविंद केजरीवाल को वोट नहीं देना चाहते। और जहाँ तक उनकी पत्नी का वोट है, वो वोट बना हुआ है, और वोट कटाने का आवेदन कोई भी देता है तो उसकी जांच पड़ताल की जाती है।
कौन काटना चाहता है वोट उनके?
दो महिलाएं हैं जिन्होंने एप्लीकेशन लगाई है, हमने जांच पड़ताल की है। एक का नाम मधु है और एक का नाम है सुरेश देवी। अब मैं आदरणीय भाभी जी से पूछना चाहता हूँ कि बताइए ना, ये मधु कौन है, ये सुरेश देवी कौन है? खुल के बताएं।
भाभी जी अगर शांत है तो आप भी बता दीजिए।
तो मैं बता रहा हूँ ना, ये उनके परिवार का मामला है, हमसे मत पूछिए। संजय सिंह बताएं, भाभी जी बताएं, भाभी जी घर पर हैं, वो बताएं मधु कौन है, सुरेश देवी कौन है। दूध का दूध, पानी का पानी हो जाएगा।
अरविंद केजरीवाल जी के अब जनाधार खत्म हो चुका है। ये पहली ऐसी सरकार है जिसका स्वास्थ्य मंत्री जेल में, जेल मंत्री जेल में, आबकारी मंत्री जेल में, शिक्षा मंत्री जेल में, शराब मंत्री जेल में, उप मुख्यमंत्री जेल में, मुख्यमंत्री जेल में, 15 विधायक, 8 मंत्री, 1 सांसद जेल में। यह आज़ादी के बाद एक ही पार्टी ने अगर भ्रष्टाचार का रिकॉर्ड तोड़ा है तो अरविंद केजरीवाल और आम आदमी पार्टी ने तोड़ा है। क्या जनता से वोट लेंगे साहब? साफ पानी नहीं दे पाए, मिट्टी भरा पानी आता है आज भी। बिजली के मीटर दुगने भाग रहे जबकि हाफ होने थे। जो मोहल्ला क्लिनिक की बात करते हैं, वहां पर कुत्ते सोए होते, कोई जानवर सोए होते हैं, दवाई के नाम पे बच्चे मर गए, और जो अस्पताल कोई नया और स्कूल नहीं बना नहीं पाए।